So, where to begin? I'd like to share how appreciative I am of everybody here. Dandavats to everybody. You're all bright, bright souls, carry a bright spark. Every soul has the power of a million suns. Our understanding of that is that within every soul, God is present as the soul of the soul, and that God, who is the soul of the soul, what to speak of a million suns, every sun in every one of the countless universes, every one of the billions of stars in the sky is all coming from the power of God. That power of God also rests within every one of you. We are not that sun, but we are a part of that light. And the beauty of our practice of devotion is that it links us to God, and whatever He wishes for us, whatever is beneficial for us, He can manifest, she can manifest, they can manifest, the universe can manifest. But God also gives us free will, and so we also have a little bit of a choose your adventure opportunity in this universe, especially on Earth. Earth is actually specifically the place where you choose your adventure, especially in the human form of life. The higher realms where you enjoy the results of your good actions are not so much choose your adventure as enjoy the rewards of good activities. And the lower realms are also not so much where you choose your adventure. They're the place where you, again, enjoy the results of your activities, good or bad. You eat the fruits of your karma. One of the most classic metaphors given in the Upanishads is the tree with two birds sitting in it. The tree of the body, or the tree of life, has two birds sitting in it. One is the super soul, which is a witness, and the other is the soul that eats the fruits of your activities. You're eating the results of your actions in present time. But on the plane of earth, in the human form of life, you also have the opportunity to plant the seeds of your destiny. People talk about free will and fate, and our answer to that is that as a human being on earth, you have free will and you create your fate. And every other species of life, for the most part, is playing out your free will, your choices, and every other plane of existence, higher and lower, is also playing out your choices. But it's here and now where you can choose. And a lot of it, we may feel stuck in an environment, or we may feel stuck in our thoughts. But there are techniques. Just before this class, what do you do? Okay, stretch a little bit, do some breathing exercise. You can change your mood, you can change your mindset. Don't limit yourself. You are unlimited. That means you are connected to God. God is unlimited. Dear Lord, I pray for your help. The Bible says, knock and the door shall open, ask and ye shall be given. Krishna says, I reciprocate with you according to your desires. So embrace your freedom. Radhe Radhe, Gaur Premanandi. We also have responsibilities that we adopt. Krishna also takes responsibility. So I'm going to talk about Krishna and His Incarnation, but I'll try to make it relevant for us, because Krishna, His glories, are also there to instruct us. We don't imitate, but we can take some lessons. One thing about Krishna to understand is that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all kinds of rasas, mellows. And we, the souls, our nature when we are aligned with Great Spirit is to also try to serve the will of Great Spirit and recognize our self-interest in God's interest. Not as separate from the universe or separate from creation. See, we think if I separate myself and fulfill my desires, that will make me happy. And it's true. There is a level of happiness there. I am my own individual and I should seek my happiness. Of course. Naturally. But a lot of the suffering going on in the world is because everyone's thinking like that. And so there's, a give and a take, a balance that we want to strike, where it's not only my needs and my desires that I should try to fulfill, but I can think, what does the world need? What does the world want? What does the world mother need and want right now? And how can I serve her needs? You see that? It's consciousness. Consciousness and the mind, you think of the mind almost like, not the mind, but perhaps the environment and the field that we're in is like a radio. What station you want to tune into? You want to tune into the I, me, and mine? Or you want to turn into the world and her, or Krishna and the universe? So anyhow, our philosophy is that when we align our self with the whole, then our needs are also met. And if the world could balance this idea and apply the needs of the individual with also the need of the world and the group, then the world becomes a much better place. And the more people become selfish and individual in their efforts to satisfy their own needs, then the world descends into darkness and chaos. And the more we can think about the betterment of our brothers and sisters, our Gurudev would say, are the animals and birds also not creatures of earth? Should we also not care for their needs? Gurudev was like that. We see some places where, I see this a lot, I'm not going to name places, but your own house is very clean. Right outside your house, you throw all your trash. Right? You'll clean your doorstep, but you'll throw trash and it'll be there a few steps away. Anyhow, I don't want to get too off in this. My point is, freedom and responsibility should be balanced. And we have freedom, and if with our freedom we take responsibility and think, what is better for my brother or my sister? How can I help my brother or my sister today? The odds of our, this is like a beginning stage could be called Sakam Bhakti, which means understanding that by devotion to the whole, we also benefit. And even if you have devotion to the whole with pure self-interest, thinking this will be good for me, we have this, it's very common. If I give God, a bowl of fruits, He'll give me a great bounty. This is a common religious motif. Prosperity gospel preaching, we have this in India, we have this around the world, right? But even that is better than no bhakti. And I would suggest that the greatest adventure, the greatest path of discovery you can be on is trying to align yourself further and further and further and further with that conception of what is the will of Radharani, what is the will of Krishna? How can I be favored by them? This is called seva. Whoever you decide to serve, if you can reach that point where you're serving them and you become favored by them, the kingdom opens. You hear about individuals who get the keys to the city. Have you heard that? Like some people who do remarkable activities, they get a golden key. Like you can get a golden key to New York City. Right? Because you did such great work for that common good. So imagine if we, the little spark of consciousness, says, you know what, I'm going to align myself as much as possible with the service of the divine. That one day the divine may smile upon me and say, here's the king, here's the keys to my garden. You should serve in my garden. There's so many stories about this. There's a story of the king who is searching for his successor. And he put an announcement out. Who will be my successor? And I will allow, this is like the original, reality show. I heard this story. It's like an ancient story. So there was an ancient king who said, I don't have a son, and I'm old, and I'm going to leave soon, and I need the next king to come. And I'm putting out the message that every boy or young man in my entire kingdom can come apply to be the king, and I will choose. And he gave a notice, in 1 month's time. I'm not going to spend too long in this story. And anyhow, you imagine tens of thousands of boys came to the capital. And you know what happened? I hear this story all the time, so I want to tell it. Who's heard this story before? Okay, so it's a great story. We hear many times from our Prabhuji in India. I want to emphasize the point about what potential is there for those who take responsibility for the service on whatever level they can in a practical way. So, you imagine 10,000 boys, young men came to the capital. And as they entered in the morning, it was like the gates opened. It's like the original, Mr. Beast. Right? Who's going to be the king? Become the king. Become the king of ancient India when it's at the peak of its powers. So everyone rushes in, and there's 10,000 servants waiting. One for each boy. And the servant says, "You're going to be the king. You're going to be the prince. You should get well decorated. First, take a nice shower. Dress as a prince." And 99.99% of these boys got lost in that. And an hour passed, and 2 hours passed. And the challenge was a one-day challenge. The king said, by the end of this day, I'm going to pick the next king. Prince Regent. There was one boy who said, "You know what? I'm not the king yet. I'm just a street urchin. Why am I going to waste time getting showered and dressed up like a prince when who knows what's going to happen? The king called me because he has work for me to do. The king is not looking for a prince to dress up as a prince, to eat the delicious food as a prince." So what happened is 99% of the boys got dressed up really nice, and then there was a banquet. They thought, wow, food like we've never eaten before from every part of the world, and servants and beautiful dancing girls bringing it on rollerblades. Mixing in some Americana here, right? Right? Beautiful Indian, enchanting dancing girls on rollerblades, bringing you every imaginable delight. You are going to be the king. Eat, enjoy. And everyone's thinking, oh, it's only 11, 12 o'clock. The king's, it's going to be sunset, dusk. And he's going to want to see me that I have the vibes, I have to have the kingly vibes for him to select me as king. So I have to dress like a king, eat like a king. And people think what it means to be a king is to dress like a king, to eat like a king, to have beautiful dancing Indian girls on rollerblades. I don't know why, but you have this image of Americana, and back in the day they had these diners, right? And the girls would roll up and give you French fries on rollerblades, right? I don't know why I have that image. Thank you, Divine Intuition. We're in America, right? Anyhow, that one boy said, no. The king must have called me for a reason. There must be some duty to fulfill, some responsibility. I want to hear what the job is. I'm not worried about the perks. I came here because there must be service to do. So he advanced. And after the meal, they said, then there was, check out the latest, greatest chariots and the best stallions. And, you should have duels and practice and run around. They had this beautiful, the Colosseum. Let's have chariot races. And all the boys are having chariot races. Right? And, oh, wow, this is amazing. We said, no, I don't have time for this. Fun and games. What's the job? And so it said, in the evening, he came before, and the king was seated in his garden. And he was waiting to see, is anyone serious? What happened is, a lot of the other boys, they couldn't even make it in time, because there was 7 gates. This is how the story is described. There were 7 gates that you had to pass as checkpoints. And so by the time it's like 2, 3, 4 o'clock, you're still in the Colosseum playing with your chariots and race horse cars, right? Boys, we like to race cars. So back in the day, it was like that. And they had never seen it, so they thought, no, it's getting late, we got to get to the king. No, there's still 3 checkpoints. Didn't make it in time. There was one boy who said, no. He refused every opportunity for hedonistic pleasure and for experiencing, the princely attire and vibe. And he said, no, there's a duty to perform. I will perform my duty. And he alone came before the king. And the king said, welcome to your kingdom. The king smiled and said, welcome to your kingdom. It is yours. And he gave him his crown. And everyone else is clamoring in to get into the garden. And they say, oh, they're dressed like a king. They ate like a king. They ran around the racetrack like a king. The dancing girls looked at them like a king for a few hours. Right? But it was just a dream, because they didn't have the crown. The boy, in his street rags, smelly, dirty, focused, was wearing the crown. And the king said to all the other boys, bow before the new king. And they bowed and showed respects, and the king said, now I will go to the forest and realize God. I have done my duty on earth. Now I'll do my final duty, which is to realize God. And the king left. So we hear this story and we think, what is my responsibility? The reason I'm mentioning this story, you see what happened for the person who took responsibility? He became the king. But he was focused. He was worthy. So this is our life also. This is called the world we live in. Work hard. It's also a scam, so be careful. It's not just working hard, I'm not gonna let everyone buy into the pyramid scheme of America or the world. But it's a point, right? See what you can do in this world that can do the best service to the world with your talents, your unique purpose. What were you born to do? It's not about work and money, right? These are all the attire of our dharma, right? The dress of our dharma, the perks of our dharma. Don't worry about the perks of your dharma. Worry about what is your dharma. What were you born to do? What gift can you offer the world? We talked about this last night. We talked about the old Japanese man who just has his tiny little restaurant. There's no advertising, but he's been doing it with such perfection that he's booked out, and kings and queens can't skip line. If a king and a queen wants to get to his restaurant, he said, no, you got to book with my agents. It's booked out, sorry. Come back in a year. Right? This is the power of dharma. You know what? The power of dharma is such that if you align yourself completely with your dharma, there's stories about this, that even the dharma, so I'm not saying in a derogatory way, I'm saying in a glorifying way, because generally we think of career as the height, right? But I'm saying now, even the dharma of being a chaste wife. There's a history in the Puranas that a chaste wife stopped the sun. Her husband had passed. Perhaps you know this story?
Yes, she bought the life from her husband's back. Her husband stole from
Yamraj. The underworld. She said, I didn't, perhaps you could remind me of the rest?
Her husband passed away, and Yamraj came to take the soul, and she was like, you need to give me a boon, I'm going to be alone. It's like, what boon do you want? I'll give you one boon. She said, I want 1,000 sons. So it's like, all right, now, she cannot have all these sons without her husband, so Yamraj had to give the soul back.
See that? So whatever your dharma is, I was meditating on, I'll give you a different example, right? I want to tie this to, and I really want to talk about Krishna, and see, there's competing dharmas. And this is more what we're going to talk about tomorrow, and it's why we're going to be talking about the dharma of divine love. and how we should aspire towards divine love as the ultimate goal. But that doesn't mean to neglect our other dharmas. And Krishna himself says, I do my dharma to show the example to society what to do. He said, if I did not, the whole world would fall to ruin. So Krishna himself came to earth, and what is it said? Paritranaya sadhanam, vinashaya cha duskritam, dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna said, I came because Mother Earth herself requested me to come, and I am God, so I came to fulfill my dharma. What is that? To protect the saintly, and to give them my association, to show my beautiful pastimes, to lead them to me, to destroy the demonic forces who are subjugating the world and causing suffering, to establish the principles of dharma, or religion. I come not just now, but age after age after age. He said, the same teaching I give in the Bhagavad Gita, I gave many eons before to the sun god. So anyhow, you see Krishna, he came, he performed his dharma. So this is something we'll discover. It said the person who knows his why can tolerate anyhow. This is, this is a cliche. But it's a truth also. We should try to know our why, and we should try to do it joyfully. If we're living our purpose, and it's our true purpose, they also say, do what you love what you do. So that's also important. But we should not have a directionless life. So I'll tie it to this point. Krishna says in the Gita over and over and over, Ananyas chintayanto mam, be one-pointed. One-pointed attention, one-pointed focus. He talks about one-pointed awareness on God. But there's another verse where Krishna says, Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravritto, I am time. And so you should also be one-pointed with your time. What is my purpose? And if my purpose is for the service of God and His mission on earth, which is to uplift the world, to help establish righteousness, to establish religious principles so that the world has the chance for happiness. We are not discounting happiness. See, the boy who became the king had all that happiness at his disposal, correct? All the women he wanted, all the food he wanted, but how much food are you going to eat? How many women are you going to enjoy with? The king selected him because duty was his prime motivation. Everything that was there to support that, yes, you take. Krishna says in the Gita, Yukta ahara, appropriate enjoyment, vihara, appropriate recreation, food, everything. Yukta chesta, appropriate endeavor, yukta swapna, appropriate sleep, everything should be balanced, then you can achieve yoga. But you want to achieve sovereignty, then you offer up your sovereignty to the will of God. Sovereignty means the king is the sovereign, right? We are all subject to a higher power. So the king in Vedic culture is offering his sovereignty to God and saying, I will do your bidding. So there's another history of this. And then we'll get to Lord Jagannath. I'm laying the scene for why Krishna even left Vṛndāvana on the mortal physical plane, despite the sadness it caused. And tomorrow we'll talk about how he never left and how the highest dharma is ultimately to divine love. But there's a dilemma. There's a crossroads where Narad, the great sage, Narad Muni. So this is this little side note. Gurudev didn't like it when you didn't use proper honorifics. So for a new audience, we may say Narad, but Gurudev, I remember he corrected during a drama play. They were in the middle of speaking the drama and someone said Narad, and Gurudev stopped the drama. He said Narad Muni or Narad Rishi. So I will also not make that mistake because Gurudev is witnessing. Narad Rishi, the great sage, came to Vṛndāvana and said, Krishna, I know how wonderful it is here in Vṛndāvana, how much you're enjoying your loving pastimes with the gopis and the gopas and the cows and the deer and the peacocks and the birds, and it's so beautiful. But don't forget your duty. And you see, God himself took the instruction of the sage Narad as his guru. He said yes. And then after that, Narad also went and told Kamsa, you should arrange a wrestling match. Now, I'm not getting mixed up with the scripture, but the sage Narad instigated this continuance of the Leela. He told Akrura, go to Vṛndāvana. Kamsa told Akrura, but Narad Rishi is behind the scenes. Go to Vṛndāvana and bring Krishna to Mathura. Bring Krishna to Mathura. And Akrura showed up. And immediately the atmosphere and the mood, everything shifted. Akrura's name means non-cruel. Akrura. Krura means cruel, like Cruella, right? So Akrura. Krura means cruel in Sanskrit. And Akrura means non-cruel. But all the residents of Vṛndāvana saw Akrura came and thought, oh, this messenger of Mathura has come. This cruel-hearted, see, I don't want to get in trouble from Thakurji and Gurudev and Guru Varga. Krishna should go to Mathura and kill Kamsa. Yes? Who's in favor? All right, after everything I've spoken, duty, righteousness, fulfill your purpose. Go out there and do your dharma and do your duty. Now, all in favor of Krishna leaving Vṛndāvana, raise your hands. 1, 2, okay. But you're still outvoted, right? Still outvoted, sorry. But don't worry, it's not democratic.
It's dharmocratic.
Dharmocratic. Nice one. Dharmocratic. So, this is setting the scene for the great dilemma, the chariot festival, the Rath Yatra, and Guru Purnima. Right? I have to steel man the argument for Krishna leaving. That's what they call it these days, right? Steel manning and straw manning. So I have to steel man the argument for duty as the highest purpose, even if love suffers anguish and separation. Should Krishna leave Vṛndāvana? Everyone's like, no, no. Mother Earth, you don't care about Mother Earth? Mother Earth was crying. She took on a personified form and went and prayed to Lord Brahma, who is the local creator. Every universe has a local creator, the first son of God, the first prince who became a king. His name is Brahma, from the Brahman. That means like God, but lower than Shiva, lower than Vishnu. Why? Not God, but empowered by God to become like God. Just like Guru is empowered by God to become like God. So the local gods, Brahma, higher than Indra, because Indra is the more local god, king of the heavens, the plane right above earth. You have earth, then you have the astral realm of the spirits, then you have Swarga, heaven. Then, beyond Tapaloka, Maharloka, and so on and so forth, you have Satyaloka, where Lord Brahma resides. And Mother Earth said, I'm not going to pray to Indra. He's always fighting with the demons. I'm going to pray to the real creator God in this local universe, Brahma. And Brahma went with Mother Earth, and they both prayed to the Supreme Lord, beyond all the universes. Said, please come and help us. This world has become burdened by demons, and they're causing so much suffering to this world. And we pray only you can save us. It's time for another avatar. Please come. And Krishna heard her prayers and said, I will come. I will come and I will unburden the earth from these demonic rulers. So you don't care about Mother Earth and her plea and her plight and her prayers? You still don't want Krishna to leave Vrindavan? Very difficult situation. You know? Vrindavan is not this world. So when Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, it was like the spiritual world appeared. And as long as Krishna was there and Radharani was there, it was like itself the spiritual world. That's why Krishna did these heroic things that are like, people think, how did he lift Govardhan Hill on his pinky? And like, it's a bunch of rocks and this and that. Govardhan broke in separation and Indra broke him into many pieces. But Krishna lifted Govardhan. Why? The spiritual world, the divine abode with Krishna, with Radharani, appeared on earth, and it was like that divine force field is there. And at that moment, that is the transcendental abode in Vrindavan. The rest of the world is still the earth, and it was benefited by his presence. But still, earth is suffering. People are suffering. What to speak of the wide world? 12 kilometers away from Vrindavan, Mathura. Not very far, 12 kilometers. It's like from here to Walmart. Okay? Giving you some local perspective, right? Let's see. How far is Walmart? Okay. I got to do this research here. 11 miles, even farther. So Mathura is closer than Walmart to Vrindavan. Distance between, I mean, it shares a border, so there's no distance. But from where Krishna lived and from the Kamsa's place, like that. So anyhow. Okay. So I'm not going to make you stay here forever, I promise. But don't worry, tomorrow I'm going to talk about all the reasons he shouldn't leave and how horrible it is. And it is. But if we trust God and trust the universe, what I said in the beginning, I think I said, is God is the supreme enjoyer. So if you view it from that lens, Krishna also enjoys saving the world. Should we give him that opportunity? Should Krishna get his chance to save the world, everybody? If he's just doing the rasa dance every night in Vrindavan, how's he going to save the world? It's like, no! Krishna enjoys it. He is God. He has all rights to enjoy as he likes. He is the supreme enjoyer. So therefore, I'm going to tell this story more tomorrow, but I'm going to skip past the really sad part. He went to Mathura. He killed wicked King Kamsa. Actually, King Kamsa died of fear, is how it's said. When Krishna killed the wrestlers that were like origin of WWE. The ontological ideal, platonic ideal of the wrestlers. They were bodybuilders. They were like hills, and their biceps were like boulders on that hill, big rocks. And Krishna was very slender. But it said when he was wrestling with these wrestlers, they were perspiring. And there's some beautiful images. Swami Prabhupada made this beautiful, through his artists. Little Krishna, little Balaram, but very handsome. And they're locking hands with these wrestlers, 2-3 feet high, taller. And, probably weighing 400 pounds of pure muscle mass. They probably eat 1,000 grams of protein a day. Whole buffalo, whole goat, whole chickens, probably 10, 20 chickens a day. And here's Krishna wrestling with them, and Krishna is enjoying the bliss of wrestling. He is God. doesn't have the... in Vṛndāvana he wrestles with his friends. And he's defeated by his friends. Sudam, Madhumangal, not Madhumangal. Madhumangal's the, trickster and joker. So he doesn't wrestle with Krishna so much. But others, Sudam, Sridam, Balaram, they are able, not Subal. Subal is very gentle and beautiful, and sometimes he has the service of dressing as Radharani to trick her in-laws so that Radharani can, there's beautiful stories about it. But some of Krishna's coward friends, he'll wrestle with them and be defeated by their love. Their sweetness and their charm, he doesn't think he's God, and they defeat him, and they say, what kind of big man are you? I won, now you have to carry me on your shoulders and run around the fort. You have to run 1 kilometer and then come back. They play games like that. And Krishna is defeated in wrestling by his friends, and then God himself has to carry his friends on his shoulders. That's the service they do. What service do the cowherd boys do for Krishna? They tease him. We don't have time for all these stories. There's so many glories of the cowherd boys. But Krishna enjoys the wrestling with them, but he enjoys the wrestling with these demons in a different way. Because with them, he enjoys true wrestling with a true antagonist that wants to kill him. Cowherd boys don't want to kill Krishna. They're playing. It's like kids playing, like boys playing. But these wrestlers wanted to kill Krishna. They had no bhakti whatsoever. And Krishna enjoyed it. Our Gurudev said, we don't imitate. The wrestlers were pleasing Krishna. But it wasn't bhakti because they wanted to kill him. And Mother Yashoda displeased Krishna, setting him down and going and saving the milk. But it was bhakti, pure bhakti. And yet, the wrestlers were pleasing Krishna. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't bhakti. But they were pleasing Krishna. And when Krishna ultimately defeated them and killed them, they achieved liberation, moksha. Happy ending for them. Merged with God, merged with the light. Good ending. And after he killed them, Kamsa is on his throne, up on his big throne. And what does Kamsa represent? The king who is not surrendered to the will of God. That's what we call a real tyrant. And sometimes we see in this world theocracies. And they say, I am servant of God. If you're a servant of God, that means you love humanity, you love the subjects, you will sacrifice your meal. There's stories in our Puranas of sages who are fast, and then to break their fast, this is just a quick segue. They'll have their meal after like a month-long fast, and then all of a sudden a beggar will knock on their door and they'll give half their food to them. And then an animal will come to the door hungry and they'll give half the remaining of their food to them. And then a bird will come and be hungry and they'll give half of the half to them. And then another person will come, and finally there'll be nothing left for them, no even any water. Right as they were back to drink a glass of water, someone knocked on the door. I'm dying of thirst, can you give me some water? Okay, here's a glass, and they drank the whole thing. And this person was on the brink of death because they'd been fasting, a full fast for like a month. And right as they're about to expire their life, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva appeared and said, we took on the form of the dog and the beggar and the bird to see your dharma. So a real king means someone who will give their last drink of water, or at least think of the good of others while thinking of their own sustenance, right? Anyhow, Kamsa represents someone who is in a position of power, no respect, no affection, no regard for others' well-being or needs, right? And you may say, oh, I'm doing it by divine will. That is not divine will. All the avatars come to establish righteousness and defeat evil. And what is evil? Causing suffering to others. Yes? So anyhow, Kamsa, seeing that all his ploys, all his plots, Krishna before that defeated this, there was a wild mad elephant, the most powerful wild mad elephant in the kingdom, and he was stoked into rage, and he attacked Krishna, and Krishna easily defeated him, and Krishna and Balaram ripped out his tusks and carried them into the arena, and there was blood dripping down Krishna and Balaram's body. And it was like red drops, like red rubies, decorating Krishna's beautiful bluish sapphire form, Balaram's beautiful white form. And Krishna, with great happiness, walked into the arena of the wrestling match, decorated with the blood of this wild elephant, Kuvaliya Pida. And Kamsa, seeing all his ploys and plots and all the demons he had sent from Krishna's childhood, one after another, Putana, Trinavarta, Agasura, Bakasura, Sakatasura, so on and so forth. Everything is defeated. Now he's face to face with that God who is prophesied to kill him. And it said Krishna jumps up to his dais, says, "Hello, uncle." And Kamsa's crown falls off, and he rolls down the steps onto the sand of the arena. And Krishna jumps down and sits on his, like Kamsa's laying there. And so in wrestling, right, you do, right? If someone's laying down, to submit them, you get on top. So Krishna sits on Kamsa, and Krishna's still this little 9.5-year-old boy. And great King Kamsa is laying there on the ground. And little baby Krishna, baby boy, big, strong, powerful, thunderbolt Krishna, is saying, "Oh, Chacha, oh, uncle, how are you?" It's Mama, right? Mama. Mama means maternal uncle. So, "Oh, Mama." Why? He is the brother of Krishna's mother, Devaki. Did you see? Every soul has free will, even if you're the son of God. Or the brother of God's mother. Right? Every soul has free will. So Krishna's saying, "Mama, Mama, why are you fighting with me? Why are you trying to kill me? What's your problem? Why do you imprison my parents, Ugrasen, not Ugrasen, but Vasudeva Devaki, his grandparent, Ugrasen Maharaj, the king." And as he's trying to speak sense, Kamsa in fear, like some animals will die of fright. You hear that, right? So Kamsa is like going in and out of consciousness in fear. But Krishna is so merciful that he's made sure that when Kamsa dies, he's looking at Krishna and thinking of Krishna, so he gets liberation. And he's going in and out of consciousness, and he's losing his life. The soul is trying to get out of his body. He's so afraid that the soul is trying to leave his body. "Get out, get out, get out." And Krishna, stay. Kamsa left. And he thinks he can escape God, right? He's like, whoop. And whoop. Goes into Krishna's lotus feet. She is moksha. It's not exactly described like that. But the demons get moksha even when killed by Krishna. So now the point I'm making is, did Krishna do the right thing or the wrong thing? At least we can discuss that. Whether he should have left Vṛndāvana or not, we can't argue. But did Krishna do the right thing or the wrong thing? He's God, all right. Anyhow, right? What do you think? Did he do the right thing or the wrong thing? In Vṛndāvan, what is the position of Radharani? What is the position of Lalita Vishaka, Rupa Rati, Madhya Shoda, Nanda Baba, the cowherd boys? I'm not going to get into that rasa now. It's very sad. This is the kind of thing where you guys need another hour for Katha. It's like a Bhagavad Saptaha. We'll do Katha tomorrow. I can't even go into that mentality or that mood because it's too difficult. We'll give that perspective tomorrow. But, from a neutral, objective point of view, we should all at least consider the fact that maybe Krishna wanted to do it. He's free to do it. It was helpful for the world. It's not just like he's enjoying that, but it was actually helpful for the world. When he was in Mathura, 18 times these armies of evil demons attacked him, and he defeated them all. He said, "I didn't want those armies coming to Vṛndāvan. They were going to come." Once Kamsa sent all these different wizards and demons. They're all shape-shifting wizards, right? Talking about shape-shifting wizards. It's said in the Bhagavatam that each of these Trinavarta became a whirlwind. Sakatasura possessed the cart to crush Krishna. Putana became this evil witch, but she also shape-shifted into a beautiful woman, right? The demons are shapeshifters, right? Anyhow, not talking about the subterranean planets too much, and the reptilians too much, but they have that power, right? The point is that all those demons came to Vṛndāvana and failed. So what's going to happen next? Kamsa, Jarasandha, and all his evil buddies are going to try to recruit massive armies to attack Krishna. God is the all-attractive, and when he appears on earth, he's all-attractive. God is the all-attractive, but he's not always on earth. So it was when he's in his spiritual planet, he's attracting us there. If Krishna was in Vṛndāvana right now, we wouldn't be worried. He is in Vṛndāvana, but if he was in Prakrit, manifest Vṛndāvana, we wouldn't be talking about going back home, back to Godhead. We'd be talking about going to Vṛndāvana in India. Now he's not Prakrit, besides his Murti and his name and all those things. He's in Goloka Vṛndāvana, so we're all attracted to Goloka Vṛndāvana as his devotees. Let's go to Goloka Vṛndāvana, right? So when Krishna appeared, everyone, even all the demons, were attracted like moths to a flame. Millions of people came and attacked Krishna in Mathura. You want all those people to come to Vṛndāvana? You want armies of evil demons attacking Krishna in Vṛndāvana and disturbing all the Brajvasis? One of the times Krishna was dealing with the demons. So you all are in favor of that? You want that? Millions and millions of demons should attack Vṛndāvana and cause havoc and disturb Krishna's beautiful little village? Krishna left Mathura and established his kingdom in Dwarka so that it wouldn't be too close to Vṛndāvana. It's only 12. It's like, imagine if there's a war going on at Walmart. It's like, no, we just want to go get our broccoli, as Rasik Maharaja says, right? It's like, where's the broccoli? He's disturbed. Right? Madading, right? Where's the broccoli? We need to go and buy broccoli. I'm going to go, I promise. The point is, imagine you want to do that and there's a war going on. And there's like blood in the streets. So Krishna said, no, I know 18 times you attacked me. Finally, Krishna ran away from the battlefield. One of his name is Ranchor, the coward who left the battlefield. That's what people call him. Oh, Krishna, you coward, you ran away. And then the Mahabharata, you got afraid of war and you wouldn't even fight. You're just the charioteer. Right? You got tired of fighting. Right? So, Krishna said, no, we're going to go to Dwarka so that the armies don't attack Vṛndāvana. So it's not too close. And, I'm not even going to go home and not talk about them. I'm just going to keep it, all my pain and sadness bottled up in my heart. I'll tell you one thing. Every tear of every resident of Vṛndāvana, Krishna experienced. So each resident of Vṛndāvana is crying for Krishna to come home. And every cow and every tree and every bird is crying for Krishna to come home. And so all those souls and the Supreme herself, Śrīmatī Rādhikā, crying for Krishna, and Krishna has to bottle all that up and still do his duty. And he feels every tear of every little bit of their heartache. And he has to keep it quiet and go and do his duty in the world. So, was Krishna wrong to leave Vṛndāvana? He's not wrong. But he's also not right. But he's not wrong. So therefore scripture says, actually Krishna never left Vṛndāvana. And this goes to another topic. I remember, I'll tell you this, tying this into Gurudev. The last class Gurudev gave in New Braj, 2010. He was telling people this is the last time I'll come to the West. And he was like preparing his disciples for 1-2 years for his departure. And he gave the same talk, the sadness of everyone in Vṛndāvana. And he reconciled and said, you know what? There's a higher reality than this physical reality. That's the spiritual dimension. And that spiritual dimension itself has many layers. He said, Krishna actually never left Vṛndāvana. And there's a reconciliation, which is when Krishna was physically in one form leaving Vṛndāvana, at the border there's a bathing place called Akrura Ghat. And Akrura, the chariot driver, saw Krishna bathing in the lake with his brother Balaram. Actually what happened is Akrura said, I'll go to bathe. And he saw under the water, there's Krishna and Balaram bathing, and then he looked in the chariot, and Krishna and Balaram were on the chariot also. And it said that the Krishna and Balaram, that came into the water to bathe, never left Vṛndāvana. And then the Mathura Dwarka, I don't know if it's exactly said like that. I'm giving the essence. That Mathura Krishna and Mathura Balaram, Mathuradish, Dwarkadish, they left. Original Krishna, his name is Brajendra Nandana Sham Sundar, he can never leave Vṛndāvana. Padam ekam nagachati. That's why the scripture says, Vṛndāvanam parityaja padam ekam nagachati. Krishna never leaves Vṛndāvana. And when Krishna said, I'll come back in 2 or 3 days, he also came back, he never left Vṛndāvana. And he would send messages and say to Radharani and the gopis, actually, every night I come to you, every day I come to you in my spiritual form and I meet with you, and you think it's a dream. When you wake up, you think, or you can't tell. See, the gopis are in so much separation, so much anxiety, they cannot distinguish between their waking state and their dreaming state. This is what happens in, the extreme heartache, extreme separation. Imagine, okay, someone you love more than your own life. So Radharani doesn't call Krishna Jagannath. This class is about Jagannath. But Radharani doesn't call Krishna Jagannath. What does she call Krishna? Prananath. Radharani says to Krishna, I don't know what creator made your body out of my own life heirs. That wherever you are, Krishna, that is where my prana is. That means my life heirs. And the prana is what keeps you alive. So Radharani says, you ripped my heart out with you and took it with you. And then you met with so many other lovers. What does she mean? Yes, so many queens, but in one sense, anyone who Krishna is spending time with. Wrestling, fighting, killing, saving the world, rescuing the princesses. Krishna fulfilled all these, what to speak of rescuing one princess. He rescued 16,000 princesses. People may say, this is like a patriarchal idea, right? The prince goes and defeats the dragon and saves the damsel. Krishna saved 16,000 damsels in distress. And then he wasn't going to marry them. They all said, no one else will accept us but you. We've been in this prison of this great demon, and now everyone will consider us not maidens, not virgins. They will, even though they were still pure, they will doubt our chastity. Anyway, whatever. The point is, they all begged for Krishna to marry them, so he married them. He saved all 16,000. The point here is, Radharani's thinking like that. No. You ripped my heart out of my body and took it with you. And you wouldn't even let me die. So I'm here in Vṛndāvana, not alive or not dead. Because the only reason for me to be alive is left, and I cannot follow you. Imagine Radharani is saying to Krishna, let me go and be in the Mahabharata. You'll be driving the chariot, and Arjuna will be in the back, and I'll be next to you. Right? Rasabas. So you ripped my heart out, and then you took me with you, and everywhere you went, you enjoyed with so many different devotees, so many different lovers and beloveds. Is it fair? Did Krishna do the right thing or the wrong thing? Radharani in her great... See, now I'm getting into the top. I better end, okay? So let me go to a different track. But just to give you a sense of some little understanding, there is beauty and love in the experience of separation as well. Even though it may be an act, it's why it's said, the pain of separation from Krishna is like boiling sugar candy juice. Like you have like a sugar juice and you boil it, and it's thick and sweet, and you flavor in such a way it's intoxicating, and you get addicted to it and you can't give up drinking it. That's what it's like to have someone you love but you're separated from, and you're so in love with them that it's like a moment apart from them is agony. This is the love between Radha and Krishna, God and Goddess. A moment apart, it's worse than death. And yet, Radharani cannot give up her life because she has selfless love, and she knows if Krishna heard she gave up her life, he would be sad. So no one can give up their life. But her mood is, you ripped out my heart and you took it with you. You know, when the bee came, she was speaking like that. So again, what we should try to understand is that they also enjoy this on some mystical level. And another thing to try to understand is that, this is the point I was trying to make. Krishna said, actually, I never left you. I was always with you observing. Like Krishna left the rasa dance and came back, but he was still observing the gopis and their separation. But Krishna said, I never left Vṛndāvana. I was always there, right next to you. I'm in your heart. I'm never separate from you. But I also came and I met with you in my form. God is transcendental, formless form, right? Ananga, Kamadev. But the gopis, in the maddened state of their separation, they don't know, am I awake or am I asleep? And Krishna would say, you thought you were dreaming, and I was speaking with you in your dream, embracing you in your dream, kissing you in your dreams, decorating you, dancing with you in your dream, bathing in the Jamuna with you in your dream, but actually it was in fact. And so this is how love, society, anandam buddhivardhanam, layers and layers, waves and waves. So we're going to jump into that topic tomorrow, but I want to go back to the king topic, so it's very hard to pull back from this, but one more story. Ancient story I've heard. There was a Muslim ruler, Islamic king, and a beggar came to his court. The kings, they'll have darshan, 1 hour a day or so, and they'll meet with everyone. So the king said, what desire can I fulfill? What do you want? He said, oh, I need this, I need this. He had a laundry list of things he needed. And the king said, okay. And the king came off his throne, down the steps of his throne, and bowed and prayed, as they do in the Islamic tradition. And after praying like that for a minute, he came up and he said, come back tomorrow, and I will see what I can do. And the person said, you are the king, you can fulfill whatever I want. He said, I am not the king, I just have this position. God is the king, God is supreme. Without God's desire, without praying to God, without knowing what to do from God's desire, I will not do anything. So in this way, the beggar said, well, why don't I just pray to God? Why do I need you as a middleman? So he said, yes, right. So there's one God, we pray to God for His desire, what we can do. But you know, I'll end with this. You know where Gurudev lived for 50 years? Keshavji Gaudiya Mat, right next to that wrestling arena. Right next to that wrestling arena. I know, because the room I would stay in for 4 or 5 years, there's a tiny little room on the top of the 3 flights of stairs, and the window would look out on the wrestling arena. And there would be Mathura boys who would practice wrestling there. Right? It was like a wrestling practice area, you know? What better wrestling practice area than the wrestling arena of King Kamsa, right? All the boys would be practicing wrestling there. You know, they have like these big clubs that they swing, you know, and then they like rub dust on them and wrestle. So this is like the, and also Param Gurudev did the same similar thing. What this is called is like the return of Śrīmatī Rādhikā's maidservants. Like how you have it in stories, right? I know this is like a far out idea, but just hear me out for a moment. Krishna left Vṛndāvana, went to Mathura, and this is the place where he wrestled with the wrestlers and killed King Kamsa. So our Gurudev and Param Gurudev said, where are we going to make our temple? In Vṛndāvana? No. We're not going to make our... Param Gurudev didn't make his temple in Vṛndāvana. He said, I'm going to make it in Mathura. Where? They were looking for place, and they came upon a dharmashal right next to the wrestling arena, and they said, this is the spot. They didn't have any money at that time. They took a loan, and there was a devotee called Sanatan Prabhu. And he was a businessman, and he gave a loan. He had a cloth factory. He gave a loan. And Param Gurudev said, this is where we're going to make our temple, right in the heart of Kamsa's wicked place, and Mathura, where they kidnapped Krishna and brought him away and caused so much pain to Radharani. And what deities are we going to establish there? Radha Vinod Bihari, where Krishna is now white, not even Sham. You go there. Why? it said Krishna is embraced by Radharani there, so he can never escape. And he's taken on her complexion, her golden complexion. So Krishna there is white marble. People would complain, why is Krishna in white marble? Why? Because this is where Radharani is victorious. Radharani, in her wrestling match with Krishna, defeated him and said, now I'm embracing you head to toe so that you can never escape me. Or Radha Vinod Bihari. You're always here to give happiness to Śrīmatī Rādhikā. Giriraj Govardhan is there. And Gurudev established as Śrīmatī Rādhika's maidservant, Manjali. Param Gurudev also, similar story. The temple he established before that was in Koladweep, where all the people against his guru tried to kill his guru. So this is just, I'm rewinding a little bit. I'm going to tie it all, big bow on this kata and finish. Okay? Param Gurudev established his first temple called Devananda Gaudiya Math, where? Right near that place where Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, Nayanamani Manjari, with 10,000 people was doing procession, and he was attacked, and they did an assassination attempt. And they were throwing bricks and glass bottles, and then they were sending in people to actually kill him. Why? Because he was fearlessly preaching pure dharma. And when you fearlessly preach pure dharma, naturally people will oppose you. It's natural. So those who are disturbed by him fearlessly preaching this pure dharma, they tried to kill him, and he was saved by Param Guru. Not saved because the guru is not saved. But his dear disciple, Vinod, while everyone is scattering in all directions, fearing for their life, he went to save his guru, who he considered more dear than his own life. And he brought him into a room of a favorable householder very quickly. Imagine, like, this is an assassination attempt. There's a narrow gully, and so it's like a bottleneck, perfect place for an ambush. And there's a high areas and village homes that you can be on top of, like concrete home. And they had prepared to attack, with soda ball, like glass and sharp rocks, and then they were sending in agents to try to kill him. And instantly Param Gurudev reacted, brought him in, and he changed his white cloth for his guru's sannyas cloth. He looked very similar to him. He said, no problem. And then he sent him with one other sevak and said, take him back to Mayapur. And then he came out, and he said, no problem. If I'm meant to die today, today is a good day to die. This is the warrior mentality. If today is the day I will die, then today is a good day to die. Right? It's the best day possible. Right? Later on, so now this is like maybe 15 years later when he, so many things happened. But after Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada left, he established his temple right in that place. He said, I will establish my guru's glories here, and from here. And he was the one who gave sannyas to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Many others were saying, no, we'll only give you sannyas if you serve our institution. Because Swami Maharaj, before Abhay Charan, Bhaktivedanta, was looking for sannyas, because his guru told him to preach all over the world. And everyone's saying, no, let's just preach in India. No need to preach all over the world. We tried, we failed, it's too hard. It's too hard, too difficult, we shouldn't even try. No need. But Abhay Charan had the order of his guru to do it. You understand? So he said, in the order of my guru, there's the power to do it. I must be successful. Just waiting. I'm just waiting. Later on, Swami Prabhupada would sit on a park bench in New York City, penniless, having his Gita manuscript stolen, being attacked by a crazy person in a place. The 70s New York City was crazy. Now it's much more safe. People say New York is not safe. The 70s New York, the 60s New York. In the Lower East Side, with the derelicts, he would have to step over people like OD'd people to get into his apartment. He went to the very derelict place. Anyhow, he took sannyas from Param Gurudev. He said, no, take sannyas and fulfill the mission of your guru. That's why Param Gurudev is known as Acharya Kesha, the lion like Acharya. So where did he establish it? Right there. Where did Gurudev establish it? Mathura. So Radharani's maidservants, I'll tell you one more story. Bhaktisiddhanta, the guru of our guru's guru, his guru, Gorkshadas Babaji Maharaj said, don't go to Calcutta and don't make disciples. Where did he go? He went to Calcutta, made a temple, and he would start initiating so many disciples. Why? He said, I never left Vṛndāvana or Mayapur because I was always with devotees, so I never went to Calcutta. And he would never call any disciple. He would always call them Prabhu, master. And he would always offer them obeisance. He said, no one is my disciple. Everyone is my guru. Everyone is my Prabhu. Said, and that's how he created a worldwide mission, because he empowered everybody. Bhaktisiddhanta, who is Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, the most intelligent scholar in the world, the most erudite person you can imagine. And Śrīmatī Rādhikā's dear maidservant, whose name means the iris, the pupil of her eye. Nayana Mani Manjari. What a personality, creating this worldwide mission. That person wouldn't call anyone their disciple and said, no, you go out and preach, 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 you go out and preach. And he made everyone go, and they established this worldwide mission that we have the honor to be in, the privilege to be in. So Gurudev is also of that same mood, that same spirit. We have to balance the internal, the external. Realize God within, serve God within, and try to take up some responsibility in our life. And Gurudev would say, what is that responsibility? How to please Shri Radha Krishna, Shri Guru Gauranga. So we're very lucky to be part of this mission. We should take full advantage. The more we take responsibility, the more we are favored. The higher the levels of Radha Krishna's reality you will be able to access. One by one, the door will open. We think bhajan means to go in a room and chant. Bhajan means to think, what is the will of our gurus? What is the will of Krishna? What is the will of Radharani? So this is how we balance, We want to realize the temple of the heart within, Radha Krishna within, pure love within, serve them within. But how are you going to do that? That is when that temple is established in your heart, built in your heart. Think of your body as the land, the kshetra. The earth doesn't build a temple on her own body. You won't build a temple in your own heart. The temple in your heart will be built by the Guru Varga when you are worthy for it. That temple will automatically appear in your mind, in your vision. Naturally, you'll be drawn into that space where you will realize that bliss with Radha Krishna and their love within. And at every moment, you will taste that nectar. But they have to see your willingness, your readiness, that you will honor it properly. So we're praying to our gurus for their compassion, their mercy. Thank you all for your patience and your time. We're praying to Srila Gurudev. Gurudev was very courageous, very soft and sweet and beautiful. But, Gurudev said, and one sweet thing about Gurudev. When Gurudev was banned in ISKCON, 1994, after helping them save ISKCON in the court case where Prabhupada's sons were trying to take it over, he was the star witness, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and so on and so forth were helping defend ISKCON. But Gurudev was the one who, tilted the balance in favor of saving ISKCON. After guiding them all, after giving samadhi to Prabhupada, after he was the heart and soul, very, 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 very bosom friend and dear friend of Prabhupada. After he was banned, he said, I would never have initiated anybody. I was always Shiksha Guru, instructing. I would never go and initiate anyone in the West. All the disciples of Prabhupada would have let do that. Right? And Vāman Goswami Maharaj was initiating in India. I would have just been a Shiksha Guru, not initiating Guru. He said, when they banned me everywhere, they awoke a sleeping lion. And I've heard the message. Gurudev would joke sometimes. He said, they're opposing me everywhere. Everywhere I go, they make a competing festival and pour resources into it. And he said, all their anti-prachar is just fueling our success. Right? So, we honor our Srila Gurudev. We should try to understand that bhakti is not something that is weak. Bhakti is very delicate, but is not at all weak. Bhakti is the most strong thing in existence. It said, bhakti has the power to conquer the inconquerable Lord. And that is not, we should not think we have bhakti. We should think bhakti is Śrīmatī Rādhikā's sole property. That's how it's described in Scripture. Bhakti Devi comes from Shri Radha, is her form, one of her swarups, like Krishna is Kamadev. So Śrīmatī Rādhikā is Bhakti Devi. So it is her. So she has the power to conquer Krishna. And if she shines one little iota of her grace in our heart, one little photon of light of her grace, that love can conquer the world. So we only take shelter of Śrīmatī Rādhikā. We only care about her opinion. Krishna should not have left Vṛndāvana. Okay? Krishna is a show-off. Should not have left. But Mother Earth was suffering. We feel her plight. But Krishna could have been, in the Mahabharata war, did Krishna kill anybody? Did Krishna have to go kill the demons and the kings? Can he have just inspired everyone else to kill each other? Right? That's what happened in the Mahabharata. So I'm not getting into that argument. But we are partial to Śrīmatī Rādhika's party, Srila Gurudev's party. Krishna should not have left Vṛndāvana. It's not good. It's the wrong decision. We do not agree. We will never agree, even if it's right. There's one thing about disciples. It said, this is a quote of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada and Param Gurudev. If the entire world, every last human being on earth, stands in opposition to me, and yet my Guru has given me an instruction that has caused their opposition, I will not sway from my vow. So our mood is, we are loyal only to Śrīmatī Rādhikā and her maidservants. Whatever his reasons may be, they are his reasons. We do not want to argue and fight. Why would we argue and fight with Krishna? That's not our domain. But we do not agree. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripasindhurevacha, patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. All right? In conclusion, everybody should be very bold and go and preach. My message to solve all problems between people and in the temple is be bold and courageous. We don't care if you're a man or a woman, or Linus and Frodo should also go preach. Okay? Right? Because it is our mandate from our gurus to spread the beauty, the message, the glory of Śrīmatī Rādhikā and her line. That is our special contribution. Gurudev came to show the world what is the glory of Śrīmatī Rādhikā and how to become her maidservant, and showed that he is also in that position. And so that is our mandate. We are not Krishna followers or Krishna Paksha. We are only followers of the followers of the followers of the followers of the followers of Śrīmatī Rādhikā. That's why we will establish her centers wherever there's opposition. Okay? Wherever there is the most opposition, wherever it is the absolutely hardest to do it, we will establish Śrīmatī Rādhika's glories. Okay? And we should think like Param Gurudev, like they had that mood of courage. We should think. That's what they did. They said, okay, you're going to leave Vṛndāvana? Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said, I'm going to leave Calcutta, Mayapur, because Mayapur is like Vṛndāvana. And I'm going to go to Calcutta, the parallel of Mathura. And what am I going to establish? Gaudiya Mat. That means Gaudiya is the name of Śrīmatī Rādhikā and her followers. It means of Śrīmatī Rādhikā. That is the definition of Gaudiya. Gaudiya means Gaudiya. In Bengali, that means possessive case. So those who are offering themselves to Śrīmatī Rādhikā, that means she is our ultimate possessor and our controller. We have no interest. If Krishna comes 1,000 times and asks us for something, I know this in my life because Prabhuji would tell me this. If Krishna comes 1,000 times and asks you for something, you have only one answer. You don't even have to say no. Just say no. But the idea is, you don't even have to give him the dignity of a response. That is their mood of Radha Paksha. No. So our mood is, we are fiercely loyal only to Śrīmatī Rādhika's party. That is our only interest. All right? And our mission is, the Prabhuji said, I will make a center in China. And it will be a Buddhist center, many Buddhist centers, so that no one will understand we're practicing Bhakti Yoga. And over the course of time, everyone will become Radharani devotees. Okay? Why? And that's where, ISKCON also achieved most success. Russia. All the devotees were put in prison. I know some of the devotees, one of these, Bhakti Swami, He was one of the pioneers. He was in prison for years in the Soviet Union. And you know what he's establishing now? I would argue the most beautiful temple in Govardhan. It's actually not just argument, it's a fact. Establishing little kunjas for each of the Goswamis, flowers of hundreds and hundreds of varieties, all these lost trees. Beautiful, gorgeous temple. That person is establishing. And his heart is overflowing with love for Radha and Krishna. Why? Because he had love for Prabhupada and love for Prabhupada's desire. That's real love. And now the manifestation of that in his heart is manifesting outwardly. That is love. So we pray to develop one drop of that love so that we can serve our Guru Varga and one day gain the favor of Śrīmatī Rādhikā. Okay, so everybody, I am no one's guru. You're all guru, now go out and preach. And to do that, whatever your intelligent, whatever your means, from your computer or your phone, or with your car, or with your plane, however you want to do it. If you can sit in one place and do it, fine. Or any service done in the temple, for that service is equal. Cooking, cleaning, serving Thakurji is all that same service. But we are a mission. Do not forget that. All right? Any service done is service to the same thing. This is the mission of Śrīmatī Rādhikā in this world, the mission of Srila Gurudev. Gurudev was specifically chosen by Śrīmatī Rādhikā to share this message with the whole world, which is what he did and is doing. Understand? Like we had yoga, we were talking yesterday about Yogananda. Yogananda made yoga popular in the US, right? Then we had Swami Prabhupada who made kirtan, and specifically Hare Krishna and bhakti and worship of Radha Krishna in temples. All the other great saints couldn't do it. They came and left. Vivekananda came and left. Where are all his centers? Where are all the Yoganandas? Swami Prabhupada did it. All the temples. Gurudev came to establish temples in the hearts of each devotee. Each devotee who develops bhakti in their heart and worships Radha Krishna in their moods and their devotion in their heart, that person becomes a living temple. And wherever they go, they carry that temple. And every home they live becomes a temple. So Gurudev came to make the temple in the heart, which is our focus. But that is not without effort. And Gurudev specifically came to teach Radha Dasyam to this world. He was chosen. He is the teacher of Radha Dasyam to this whole world. That is our beloved Gurudev. So as his sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, we should understand who he is, what his mood is, and as Westerners, what is our responsibility? We're all princes and princesses. Okay, Prince Vṛndāvana, Princess Kanchana, Princess Vinod, Radharani, right? You should think you're all the princes and princesses of Gurudev. Why? Because Gurudev is Maharaj, the great king. So you're all selected. But we should try our best in our humble efforts, whatever way we can. All right? Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.